Sharon, are you there?
Just regard her as nurse. I don't think they call her by her first name.
Nurse, can you hear us?
Okay, so good morning, everybody. Let me say a special good morning to all our listeners out there, especially our market vendors, our bus drivers, the public persons at M&C, our caregivers, our sanitation workers. We would like to say a special good morning to you again. This year, this month actually, we continue celebrating Diabetes Awareness Month. And let me just say that we are currently at Fongejac this morning with the Fongejac Diabetic group, persons who are diabetic, and we're having a small um, get together for them, workshop to educate them on how to control their diabetes. We want persons to start coming to our wellness centers. Don't forget our diabetic clinics are on Mondays. So we're hoping that persons can come to our diabetic clinic. Don't be afraid, there is no stigma attached. Controlling your blood sugar is of utmost importance. Let me just say also that the vaccination drive continues. Sufre Kapak, Mondays and Fridays. Fridays, Lafag Wellness Center. Wednesdays, um, Wednesdays are at Magouj. I think Mondays is at Magouj and Thursdays is at Delse. So don't forget persons at Magouj and Delse. You can always call the wellness center to make your appointment or you can just walk in. Um, especially persons at the different communities close by. So you don't have to come to Sufra, you don't have to go to Vieux-Fort. The vaccines are readily available in your community. Okay, are we still not joined by phone and nurse? Okay, wonderful. So, phone, let me
Thank
let you continue.
thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back as always. As Louisa mentioned,
I'm not
today
hearing
we
the comments
continue
yet.
with diabetes awareness. We started off our first program by sharing some information, general information about diabetes and the different types of diabetes. In our second program, we had a very special guest with us, our nutritionist from Region 5, Mrs. Fadia Campbell, and she shared with us some details about the service available through the wellness centers and your nutrition
You know,
officer
Hannah,
and
I sent you a
nutritionist.
message.
She told us about our
So,
referral
whilst we are
process.
waiting for phone and nurse, let me just say that um, as we now face the December month, with everything that will be going on, the parties, the fete, and persons enjoying themselves, we want persons to be mindful that there are still COVID cases, although you might see the cases going down, but that doesn't mean we don't have COVID amongst us, amidst our community. We want persons to continue being vigilant, mindful, continue with your social distancing, making sure making sure that she said she was talking, but she's not.
Yeah, I see her talking, but I heard what she's saying.
Oh, so we want persons to be mindful of all of that. I know persons have the traditional house to house. We asking persons to be mindful of the house to house tradition around Christmas Day and so on. I mean, if you're drinking, drink responsibly and stay home. You can have the small family gathering, but be mindful of the protocols around that time because you know the protocols change every day. We want our persons to be making sure that they drive safely on the road. I know during that time, some of us consume a lot of alcohol and can have reckless behavior on the road. Road safety is very, very important. We do not want to lose our family members, our loved ones to COVID or to road fatalities. So, in light of that, we really want persons to take responsibility for their health with everything that is going on. So, Lindsay, are we still on that phone?
What can you hear?
Yes, I can hear you.
Maybe you didn't press the button, Lindsay.
Still not hearing anything. All my lights are on.
All your lines are off. Try this to see.
Nurse, can you hear us? She can hear us, but I cannot hear what she's saying.
Oh, she said yes, she can hear us.
Yeah, they can hear us, but we cannot hear them.
Hi. Okay, well, I'll continue talking. Let us try. Sorry about that, especially to nurse. Maybe we're undergoing some technical difficulties. So bear patience with us. Let us see how things go. Also, let me just make mention that we know that the year is ending. Um, and we want persons to make their New Year's resolution to take better care of themselves, to eat right, to make sure they continue exercising, doing their yearly checkups. That is of utmost importance. Your eyes, your teeth, making sure you're going to clean your teeth at least twice for the year. For ladies, make an appointment for your pap smears. Your Don't forget to continue doing your self breast examination. We want persons to be mindful of all these things. Continue managing your health. Make it your New Year's goal, New Year's resolution as as part of something you want to achieve next year. Don't hesitate. Our wellness centers have the services at probably no cost or little cost to you. And you can always speak to the nurse, and the nurse can make special arrangements for you if you are a working person or you're a busy individual. Some of our nurses at our wellness centers are very, very accommodative. We want persons to start utilizing our wellness centers, utilize the services that are given at our wellness centers. Let me just apologize for um, one of our guest speakers. Um, Due to technical difficulties, we were unable to connect with her, as well as my colleague from Minville. But later on, we're still trying to rectify the issue. So hold on, phone, hold on this, because I am really interested in hearing what Nurse has to speak about, and I think you will too. Also, we're also going to have our special guest to give a testimony about how she has controlled her diabetes and you know how she has gone through the journey. So you are not alone in this journey being diabetic, or if you start seeing the signs and symptoms, go to your wellness center. There is nothing to be afraid of. And that's what we keep on telling people. When you diagnose early, there is some level of control. And most persons wait when it's too late. When it's too late, and then they get to know that they're diabetic. By the time they have a sore that's not healing, they have so many issues, and that is the issue. So we want persons to be mindful of all of that. And don't forget, if you diagnosed with any illness or disease, you have to think of your family, you have to think of your financial situation. Keeping it and not doing what you're supposed to do, keeping it hidden from your family members, you know, can have an effect on your family members. It can have an effect on your financial situation. Think of all these things before you decide, okay, you can see the signs, but yet still you choose to ignore it. Think of all these things. Let me just say to our community members and all our loved ones, we know the journey is tough, especially through this pandemic, especially our school children, but you can work through it. It's one day at a time. Take one day at a time, sit, strategize, and plan to make things better. I want person to be mindful of all these things. Again, the Christmas season is coming. A lot of people might decide to be spending a lot of money, but at the same time, be mindful of the coming year, what the situation might be. Having said that, we will start with our guest. One of our guests are here. Have a seat, miss. One of our guests are here with us today, and I will let her introduce herself. No, I've not. Well, I know her for quite some time, but I just did not know her name. Sadly, um. So you see, life is so strange. I remember buying my cocoa tea and bakes from her by the market on a Saturday morning, but I never knew her name. In fact, maybe the name she told me is not the name I probably know her by. So I'll let her introduce herself and let her give you some information about the journey, her journey as being a diabetic, when she was diagnosed, and how and what it is. So before we go on, Lindsay, I think, okay, phone, can you please test? Phone test
Hello, good morning.
now.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, we're not hearing. So um, ask her if I can continue with the. She's not hearing me? Okay. So having said that, we're having some technical difficulties, but we will continue the program because I will not introduce our guest. She will introduce herself. Some of you might just recognize the voice off the bat because she's part of your community. Some of you might be surprised. I never knew she was diabetic. Look at how she lives her life. And some people take, when they have diabetes, it's like the end of the world for them. No, it's not the end of the world. So, having said that, Miss, I'd like you to introduce yourself to the public.
I am Joanna Gustav. Everybody knows me as Sonia from Foshijac. I worked at the Super Infant School. Um, I'm active member in the church, Catholic Church, so everybody knows me.
Wonderful. Now, let me just say something. Um, I, when I was given the opportunity to speak to Miss Sonia, she was willing, and she was at first, she was a little bit skeptical. Oh my God, radio! But then, although it was yesterday, I spoke to Miss Sonia. Miss Sonia still grabbed onto the opportunity, and I am very thankful and grateful that she could have come here and speak about her situation. So, Miss Sonia, start us by, before you were diagnosed with diabetes. Tell us what you were probably experiencing before you were diagnosed with diabetes.
Um, if, well, my experience, when I started experiencing symptoms, I started feeling thirsty very often,
Mm-hmm.
um, blurry vision. I can remember going to Mass on a Sunday, sitting in the congregation. I was not able to see the altar. And I was wondering what was the problem. I never thought, in spite that my mother has been was a diabetic, but I never thought it was that. Then I was talking to my sister, one of my sisters, and she said, why don't you go for a test? Because, that's symptoms of being a diabetic. So I took the opportunity. I went to St. Jude on my own. I did a test. And at that time, I was not, well, now I am able to read certain tests, but at that time, I was not even able to read it because I knew nothing about it. So I took it to Dr. Alexis. And when I got to Alexis looked at the result and he asked me, is that yours? I said, yes. Then he said again, is this yours? I said, yes, it is. And then the sugar was about 400 and something. Um, it was so high. And then from that time, I started doing my routine checkup with Dr. Alexis.
Okay. So, Miss Sonia, tell me, during that time after you diagnosed, what changed about your lifestyle? What you started doing? How you end up managing your diabetes so well? Tell the public what you have been doing.
Well, I've been on medication since, which is the main thing.
Wonderful.
But other than that, I've been drinking because I'm from the country. I've been drinking all my bush and so on. But the main thing is diet, to control your diet. And I've been doing that. Well, there were times I eat my cake when I feel like eating it because I deal with a lot of sugar and flour because I do cake decorating and pastries and all these things. So I'm into a lot of flour and sugar. So I eat when sometimes, not all the time. But I
You kind of
started,
lapse there.
yes. But I for my medication is the key for me. I make sure I do my medication. I do a lot of exercising. Well, now I cannot really do it, but I used to a lot of exercise, a lot of walking and this thing. But for me, from my personal experience, I believe water is the key to controlling your diabetes.
So you've been consuming a lot
A
of
lot
water.
of water.
So what's about your fruits and vegetables, Miss Sonia?
Well, I love my fruits, but then they said too much of the fruits can elevate the level.
Mm-hmm.
I try, but I love mangoes. I try to.
I think that's one of the problems with diabetics and mangoes.
I love mangoes. So I will eat a few, but then I know when to control myself. Or if I eat mangoes, then I will not eat something else.
Mm-hmm.
And I will not eat too much flour bread. I don't go too much for bread
And so on.
and so on. Yes.
Okay. So Miss Sonia, was diagnosed, how did you feel when you were first diagnosed? How did you take it? Did you feel any way? Did you feel that, oh my God, I'm diabetic? You know, what will people think? How did you feel when doctor told you you're
No,
diabetic?
I didn't bother about it one bit. In spite that I was not too cool with it, but I knew. I mean, I raised in the family that my mother had it. So,
Okay.
and seeing my mother grow up, my mother died at the age of 80. My mother was a diabetic for 40 years, and it was not much of a problem for me. Up to now, it is not a problem because some people believe that diabetes is like a death penalty. After you have diabetes, that's the end of it. But for me, it is not. It is not. And look at me, I am 52 years. I'm 52 years old. I've been diabetic for 25 years now.
25 years. Oh my God, that's almost my age. I'm just kidding. Really, because a lot of persons, when they learn that they're diabetic, they kind of pull themselves away from their normal routine. They tend to be very skeptical of what they do, how they do it, and so on. So they kind of stop living life. And we don't want persons to do these things. We want persons to continue living normal life, but being mindful of the precautionary measures that must be taken being a diabetic, like walking, making sure you walk with your shoes all the time, even in the house. A lot of persons tend to forget that. So these are the, and like Miss Sonia said, taking your medication. A lot of persons like to skip the medication, or when our CHAs or our nurses come to their homes, all the medication is there, and yes, they keep on coming all the time and take the medication. All the boxes of medication are there, because they don't take the medication and they don't take it the right way. Many of us, there is no problem in asking the pharmacist to explain to you the medication and how to take it. If you feel you don't understand, there is no issue in asking the pharmacist or going to the nurse and asking the nurse to explain how to take the medication or which one you have to take or when should you take it. Again, MNC has the box pill, the pill box, sorry, where it tells you which medication to take morning, noon, and night, Monday, Tuesday, until the week ends. So that's a good thing you can get for persons who really don't understand how to take the medication. So, Miss Sonia, in taking the medication, do you feel that you lapse sometimes in taking your medication?
Well, most times I forget, especially on mornings when I have to rush to work. I forget. But then when I go home, if I forget my medication, I know I don't have to eat this and I don't have to eat that, and I know I have to control what I eat for the day.
Okay.
And when I get home, I do whatever I have to do. But sometimes I do forget.
Okay.
But I try to make it my duty to take my medication every day.
What about when you first started taking the medication? How did you feel? When you first start taking the medication, what changes you realize in your body?
When I started taking the medication in the beginning, I remember my sugar level used to drop,
Okay.
especially at night. And when I went back to Dr. Alexis, um, he used to tell me, well, the medication is working. Obviously, it's bringing your sugar level down. And and certain times, when you take medication for a while, I don't know. Well, for me, I
Oh,
don't know
that's
for
your
others.
own experience,
Yes,
yes.
like it sometimes it doesn't work like it gets used to your body.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have to go again, and then sometimes you have to change it, or give you a higher dosage. That's what I have to go throughout the stage,
Taking the
the early,
medication.
yes, the early part, yes.
Okay. And now you're okay with the medication.
Yes, yes.
Wonderful. Another thing I meant to ask, since you said you kind of stopped doing the exercise, why did you stop doing the exercises? Is it you have a busy schedule or you tend to forget
No,
or in
well,
mornings it's too cold?
no, I have a busy schedule. I work from 8 to 4,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes when I get home, it's already 5 o'clock. I have a 7-year-old son,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just the two of us home. So I don't always have the time to leave him
Mm-hmm.
and run, go out there. So it's plus I do other things. I do catering on the side. I do my breakfast at market on a Saturday. So it's a hectic schedule. So it's a kind of way hard. But during school, when during the summer vacation,
Yes.
I walk from Foshishak to work every day.
Oh, so okay, 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 but I know you drive. So that's
Yes.
a form of
Yes,
exercise.
I pack my vehicle and I walk down
And you
every
walk.
every morning. Yes.
Wonderful. So here you have it. Sometimes we fall short. We know that we fall short, but sometimes our schedule does not allow us to. But when we sit down and watch television, we can always do some exercises sitting down. We don't have to be standing up. Sometimes while you listening to the news, you have some weights. You can just use your weights with your arm, or you can lift your legs slowly. You can go on YouTube, find out which exercises you can do while sitting down. Sometimes Miss Sonia might be dead tired, and that's the
Oh
last
yes.
thing. That's the last thing Miss Sonia would like to do, or she almost fall asleep on the news already. But for persons, that are diabetic, that might have back injury and so on, might not be able to have knee problems, you can always sit down and do your exercises. Get little stuff you can do sitting down. You can go on YouTube look at your YouTube videos, and they can guide you. You don't have to be walking on the road or walking around the house, but there are things you can do, especially if you putting on the weight. Miss Sonia, I didn't hear you say anything about controlling your weight based on how you eating. That's one of the factors
Yes.
because you're tasting the cake so very
Oh yes.
often.
Oh yes. Well, I put on a few pounds. I was much smaller than the way I am right now.
That is true.
I put on a few pounds, but I'm trying my best to control it.
To control it. So that's one of the things we have to be mindful. Even when we are not diabetic, we end up putting on the weight like some of us, like myself, we end up putting on the weight, not even realizing that we're putting on the weight. It's all because of our diet, because we tend to eat the fatty foods. We tend to eat the sugary stuff. You see something you have not eaten for a long time. One time your body crave it,
Yes.
like a chocolate or something, which is not very healthy for us, and the sugar content might be really, really high in these things. So we have to be mindful of all these things. So Miss Sonia, having said that to you, let me just ask, during that 25 years, has it been a financial burden on you to control your diabetes as it relates to your diet, buying your medication, and so on? How has it been?
No, it has not been.
It has not
No,
been
not
because
at
you're
all.
able to maneuver.
Yeah, but well, diabetic get free medication, so that is a plus.
Very
We don't
much
have
so.
we don't have to buy medication. So, and when I started with Dr. Alexis, at that time we used to buy medication, but then after they introduced the universal health,
Yes.
diabetic has been getting free
Free
medication. So I do
medication.
my clinic at the hospital or the Physician Health Center. So I'm
Mhm.
getting free medication. Plus, I do a lot of farming as well. So I always have little vegetables like my broccoli and my Chinese cabbage and my tomatoes and lettuce and
And
these
so
things,
on.
okras and these things. I plant a lot of these things, so I'm able to
So
use this thing.
let me ask you, Miss Sonia, do you do your own testing to check your blood sugar
Yes, I do.
level?
I do.
Okay, or you, okay. So how that has been for you? Because for 25 years, for you to be pricking yourself.
Oh yes, it's hard. But then I even when I go to the health center or the hospital, I don't allow any of the nurse to prick me. I do my own pricking myself.
Oh, why is that, Miss Sonia?
I believe they just shove this thing in your finger.
So you're afraid of
so,
the prick sometimes?
so I do my thing by myself. I do my pricking, but then I test when it is. If I realize my sugar is high, I
Mhm.
usually do the pricking more often because I have to monitor it throughout the day. So I
Okay.
will do it after lunch, and then I will do it later in the evening, and even I'll do it at night before I go to bed. And if
Mhm.
my sugar level is high at night, I don't go and sleep without making sure that my the level has dropped.
Okay.
I make sure I drink my water. If I have to drink 6 or 8 glasses of water for the night before I go to bed, I make sure I do that, and I wait and I test it before I go to bed.
Before you go to bed. So this is Miss Sonia's way of controlling her
Yes.
blood sugar level. All of us are different. Some of us might have different methods,
Oh,
but
yes.
as you know, she have an active lifestyle, and that's one of the things we have to be mindful of. Some of us don't have that active lifestyle. Some of us have office jobs where we sit down at a desk and we're diabetic. So, therefore, we have to make sure that we do the necessary exercises, ensuring that we drink a lot of water and we eat a good diet. And don't forget, we still have to continue taking our medication. And we're saying that for both men and women, because I know many of us do not like to take our medication, and we tend to forget, like Miss Sonia is saying. But all all these things go hand in hand. One don't work without the other, and we have to be mindful of all these things. All right. So, Miss Sonia, is there anything you'd like to say to the public out there? Any messages you want to leave out there to the public, and so on?
Well, like I always say, some people believe when you are diagnosed with diabetes, like it's a death sentence, and some people, they have that stigma attached to it. They don't want to tell people that they are diabetic, and
Mhm.
some of them will go to the health center, to the hospital, to do it, and say, "I'm going to check my pressure." They never say, "I'm going to check my sugar," because
Yeah.
there's that stigma, and it's they're ashamed of being a diabetic. But I don't think I have that problem because I always say to people, one thing I liked about, not liked about being a diabetic, but sometimes when I go to workshop, I go to different workshops sometimes, and then I will say when I see the time for me to eat, and I go to the whoever is in charge of the food, I said it's 12 o'clock. I'm a diabetic. I need to get my lunch now, and I'll be the first one on the lunch box to get my
For
food.
your
Yeah.
lunch.
But the second thing I hate about it is that when I'm sleeping at night and my sugar level dropped, I have to be getting up in the middle of the night to go and get things to eat. That's what I don't like
Oh, that's what you don't like about
about
it.
it. Yes.
So that means you were doing something during the day that you should have done and you did not do. That is why the blood sugar level
Dropped.
dropped.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you have to be mindful of all
Oh
these
yes.
things.
Oh yes.
So, Miss Sonia, I also have a question. What about your foot care? Are you making sure that you check your toes, your feet, making sure? I know you do a lot of gardening. Do you think you're wearing the proper shoes sometimes? Or sometimes you feel something outside, let's say your clothes outside on the line and you run
Oh
to take out
yes.
your clothes without shoes?
That's true.
You understand? So we want persons to be mindful that you have to continue wearing proper shoes all the time and making sure you check your toes, the way you wash your feet, the way you wipe your feet, what type of socks you wear. These are things that you can get guidance on at our wellness centers when you speak to nurse and they can guide you. So you have to be mindful of all these things. You see, Miss Sonia does a little gardening. So there are times she might be in her garden. So therefore she have to continue wearing the proper shoes at all times. And she's not alone. I'm sure there are other diabetics that are into their gardening, that are into other professions where they have to be mindful of the type of shoes they wear. Um, Another thing I want to mention is when we go walking, make sure that we have our sneakers, our right shoes, our right socks for walking. You have to be mindful of all these things. Having said that, I would like to thank Miss Sonia so very much for coming in at short notice to give a testimony about being diabetic for the past 25 years, Miss Sonia,
Yes.
and living her life as normal. We want persons to be mindful of that because I'm sure you're not missing any toe, any leg,
No. No.
nothing whatsoever. So it's not the end of the world. She has a 7-year-old, and we have to be mindful of these things. We have to continue living a normal life with diabetes by ensuring that we take care of ourselves. I know sometimes we fall, but we will continue, but you have to continue. You have to rise above the challenge. Okay? Are we still not hearing fun on this? Ah. So having said that, Lindsay, since Nurse and Fun was supposed to join me, I will end the session today a little bit early. Yes. So let me say thank you to all our listeners. My sincere apologies due to technical difficulties. We could not be, Nurse and Fun couldn't join us because Nurse had quite a few things to discuss with us. Maybe next time we can invite Nurse to the program. I just want to say, as we end the month of November, I know that many persons might forget about diabetes, but don't forget diabetes is all around us. Our family members, our loved ones, our colleagues, our enemies, our foes, sometimes they are diabetic. And please, if you see signs that maybe it's the person, you realize, okay, the person looks sick or the person lose weight, and you see the person at the diabetic clinic, be mindful what you say to the individual. Don't go, who paid with it? Uni sugar? You know, you have to be mindful of what you say. Say words of encouragement because sometimes it takes a big step or it takes months for that person to come to the wellness center. So you will want persons to find words of encouragement because today the person might be diabetic, tomorrow you might be diabetic. You never know. So we want persons to be mindful of this or any diseases for that matter of fact. You know, be supportive, do not stigmatize, I mean, these are your community members. Even if she's diabetic, if you fall by the wayside, she will still pick you up. It's not the end of the world for any disease or anything because we all go through it. Some of these diseases are in our families hereditary. Some of us try to control it. Some of us try to escape it, but it's not all easy to do such. So, having said that, let me just remind persons of the vaccination drive at Soufre Hospital today, Monday, Delse on Thursday, Wednesday at Magouge, Friday at Lafa Wellness Center and Soufre Hospital. So, persons who are interested for to getting the vaccine, they're offering both the AstraZeneca as well as the Pfizer and your booster shots for persons who are at high risk and feel they need to get their booster shots. Okay? Thank you, Lincia, for accommodating us.
Thank you so much for being here with us.
You're
And I
welcome.
do apologize for the technical difficulties. I also like to say thank you to our listeners and those of you who are joining us on Facebook Live. Thank you again. Until next time. Goodbye.